called her a barbarian, a savage, an angry woman who burned cities. But they never mention what Rome did first. They don't say how her back bled, how her daughters screamed, how her husband's legacy was stolen with a smile. Bex isn't the story of a queen who wanted war. It's the story of a mother who had nothing left to lose. Her name was Boudica, and for one brief moment, she nearly broke the empire that tried to break her. Before Rome, there was Britannia, a land of dense forests and open skies, of tribes with names like Trinovantes, Iceni, and Durotries, each with their own leaders, gods, and rules. Among the Iceni, girls weren't just daughters. They could inherit, they could lead, and if they chose, they could fight. That's the world Boudica was born into. Her name meant victory, and from childhood, she trained for it, not in palaces, but in open fields, with spear and shield in hand. She grew up knowing two things: how to survive, and how to make others bleed if needed. But by her teens, she married Prasutagus, king of the Iceni. They ruled together, raised two daughters, and watched the shadow of Rome creep closer every year, because change was coming, and it would not ask permission. In 43 CE, the Romans came, not as traders, but as conquerors. They marched with steel and fire, led by Emperor Claudius's legions. Most tribes fell quickly, but the Iceni made a deal. Prasutagus would stay king, as Rome's ally. In return, he pledged loyalty and peace, and when he died, his daughters would inherit his land, alongside Nero. It was fragile, but it worked, for a time. Then Prasutagus died. No sons, just his wife, his daughters, and a promise. Rome broke it in a day. Rome's soldiers stormed the Iceni lands. They looted the treasury. They stripped nobles of their rights. They dragged Boudica into the street and flogged her. Then they assaulted her daughters. What Rome didn't understand was this: they hadn't just stolen land. They had awakened a mother, one who had once learned to fight and never forgot how. The queen stood before her people, bleeding, silent, furious. Behind her, two daughters barely able to stand. Before her, ash where honor used to be. Boudica didn't cry. She didn't beg. She swore. Not as a queen, but as a mother. She told them, "I do not fight for thrones. I fight for a bruised body, for daughters who will never smile the same way again, for a freedom they thought they could erase." And they heard her. Word spread, faster than Roman spies could trace. The Trinovantes came. So did the Cornovii, the Durotriges, all with old debts and older wounds. They met in sacred groves. They called on the goddess Andraste. And when the released hair ran in the right direction, they knew it was time. Peacefully can the sound of healed of wheels, chariots rolling. At the front was Boudica, her daughters beside her, and behind her, tens of thousands. The Roman governor was away, chasing druids in Wales. So Boudica struck. First came Camulodunum, the Roman colony built like a boast. Temples to Claudius, statues of Roman gods. The Iceni burned it to the ground. Ninth Legion tried to stop them. They never made it past the outskirts. Their infantry was crushed, their commander barely escaped. Then came Londinium. It wasn't a battlefield. It was a message. Those who collaborated with Rome were dragged from their homes. Shops, villas, forums, everything was set ablaze. Even now, under modern London, archaeologists find the black layer of that fire, pottery melted, coins fused. Then Verulamium. And by the time the smoke cleared, 80,000 were dead. Roman allies, officials, settlers. It didn't matter who they were, only what they represented. And at the center of it all, a woman with tawny hair, her daughters beside her, holding the banner of a wrath that had waited too long. Rome couldn't afford this kind of shame. Governor Suetonius Paulinus rushed back with around 10,000 troops. Not much, but they were trained, armored, and desperate to restore control. Boudica's force was massive by comparison. Some say over 100,000. But they weren't soldiers. They were farmers, villagers, rebels with fury, but no formation. And they brought their families with them. Wagons, children, everything they owned. Trailing behind the army like hope, Paulinus chose the battlefield. A narrow defile along Watling Street, flanked by thick woods. No room to maneuver, no room to flee. The Romans lined up in wedge formations. They hurled volleys of pila, heavy javelins that tore through flesh and bone. Then they advanced in tight, locked shields. The Britons were trapped between Roman steel and their own wagons. What began as a charge turned into chaos. Screams, blood, thousands crushed beneath the retreat. Tacitus wrote that 80,000 Britons died that day, only 400 Romans. The rebellion didn't end with a whimper. It ended in a massacre. Boudica survived the battle, but not for long. She knew what the Romans would do if they caught her. Parade her through the streets of Rome. Chains, spit, laughter. Daughters dragged beside her. She wouldn't allow it. Some say she took poison. Others say she fell ill and died soon after. Either way, no one knows where she was buried. No stone, no tomb. Some say she lies beneath a London railway platform. Others whisper Hampstead Heath. But all we really know is this: she vanished as the Romans rebuilt the cities she had burned. And the Iceni lands, devastated, salted, quiet. Even Emperor Nero, shaken by the scale of the revolt, considered abandoning Britain altogether. But Rome stayed. And Boudica became a story they tried to erase. Rome thought they buried her. But centuries later, her name rose again. Renaissance scholars found Tacitus's writings. A fierce woman, a rebel queen, a mother who fought back. England, now an empire of its own, claimed her as a symbol. In 1902, they raised a statue beside Westminster Bridge, bronze wheels, charging horses. Her daughters stand beside her, silent, watchful. Artists painted her. Writers praised her. Songs echoed her name in rebellion and pride. But why does she endure? It's not just the fire she lit or the cities she burned. It's the image of a woman standing tall when every rule said she should kneel. Of a mother who wouldn't let her daughters be forgotten. In a world built to silence women, Boudica made sure her voice was the last thing they heard. Boudica didn't win, not in the way history usually counts victories. The Roman roads were rebuilt. The cities she burned stood again. Her tribe faded, her people scattered. But her defiance didn't vanish. When nations rise against tyrants, when women speak where silence is expected, when anyone dares to say enough, Boudica rides again. not on a chariot, not with swords or fire, but in memory, in meaning. She reminds us, power may crush the body, but dignity, chosen in the face of pain, leaves a deeper scar on empires. And that's why she still matters. Not because she lost, but because she refused to surrender.